Welcome.
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the opener to What If Jill Roberts Survived, the next Scream story. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and all the new platforms and just everything else in its entirety that the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. This is the next Scream story. What if Jill Roberts survived? Now, for those of you who don't know, she is a Scream 4 Ghostface killer alongside Charlie, but she wanted the fame, fortune, and just to be Sidney by herself as a sole survivor. So she killed Charlie, and then she made it deeply personal with her cousin Sidney and ended up trying to kill her, and then make it so that she was like the hero of the day, basically, the sole survivor. So she tries the plan, but it turns out that Sidney and Gail both survived. So she tried to kill them both in the hospital, but Sidney would volt her with over 12,000 volts from the hospital equipment and seemingly kill her. But like every Ghostface killer, she would come back and get shot in the stomach for the final kill. Now, I would originally make it so that, since this is a fan-made Scream 7 project revolving Jill, that she would just be involved with Stu and Dewey and just make it that way. But since we have only not even 50% of the details for Scream 7, I am going to be making this a solely fan-made version of Scream 7 with Jill Roberts as the main head honcho, and everything else added in with my own twist on how I think a Scream 7 revolving Jill Roberts would turn out. So, here's the title card with Jill and Sidney front and center, showing this is a movie specifically about the two of them, and that actually works even more because the movie is supposed to be deeply personal for Sidney. So this actually works truly and completely in its entirety. So, how will Jill Roberts survive and how will she impact the future of the story? Let's find that out now. We open up where Sidney volts Jill with the hospital equipment, but I'm not going to have her get shot here because I feel that if I were to do that, it would have to be a miss shot. And honestly, for Jill Roberts, I just feel like them thinking she died from the hospital volts would be enough without having to double tap a shot, especially since it's personal for Sidney, much more so, you would think, around the same as Roman, and because she's a kid. So I think that the bolts is just enough to put her down and just make them think that she's dead. So seemingly, she's on the ground, she's not moving, and everybody thinks she's dead, but turns out she's just very, very, very much unconscious. So Sidney still has her line of monologue, and the entire room of which they're in is cleared out and completely closed off as a pretty much abandoned room of the hospital, because there's nothing really to do here. Then Jill Roberts wakes up what it seems like hours, days? She doesn't know, but she wakes up. She's alive? And she can't believe it. But then she realizes she's alive. And she starts to process it more. Sidney didn't have it in her to kill her. Or she must have thought that those volts were actually enough. Gail. This is both their faults. Now Sidney will be the hero. And what's Jill left as? The angry child? The mass murderer? The completely out of control psycho killer girl from Sidney's family? No. And she just talks to herself and has a line of monologue and says, "Too bad, Sidney, you didn't have it in you to kill me, but it means a lot that you gave me a second chance." And then she maniacally laughs, smirks, and cackles like a psychotic ghost face would. And she says, "This time, your alternate ending is my victory. And so, Scream 5 and 6 go by, but Jill doesn't want to take action yet. Because now that she hears about a girl who's supposedly the daughter of Billy Loomis and her sister, interfering in that cycle of whatever's going on with them is just not worth it. Then she hears about Dewey's death, and this intrigues her because now she knows there'll be no one to interfere. Dewey was half at fault too. And she says she's going to wait until the perfect opportunity come up with a foolproof plan. And this time, she'll get it done her way. And so Scream 7 rolls around. Joe Roberts has been making a plan for a long time now. And events of the Scream franchise from 5 through to 7 have gone exactly the same. Now, I'm still going to be putting McKenna Grace and Isabel May into the movie because I sort of kind of have to, along with Sydney and her infant, obviously. And so she talks to Gail on regular occasion to talk about Dewey and realizes that since they were out in hiding, her and her family, Gail almost died. And Ghostface didn't get her again. So she decides they all need to get together at Randy's house, talk about what's been happening, and share about more or less just get everyone together and see how everybody is doing. So, Sydney, her two daughters, McKenna Grace and Isabel May, the actors, since their names haven't been confirmed yet, her infant, Gail, Chad and Mindy, all reconvene and talk to each other at Randy's house. And Sydney and Gail especially want to know, where's Sam and Tara? And more importantly, since she also knows about Kirby, where's she? And like, what's been going on? And they start talking and learn everything that's been going on since they saw each other in the Scream 5 timeline, when all of a sudden they're all caught off guard by someone very injured, very bloody, very near death, and very, very frightening scene walking in the door towards them. Gail is just talking to Sydney about Dewey when Kirby walks in, very injured, very bloody, very near death, and says, Sydney, Gail, you guys are going to want to hear this. What happened to Kirby? Did she have a run-in with Jill and her new plan? What happened to Sam and Tara? And how is this going to affect the meeting or reunion, quote-unquote, of Sydney and Jill as Jill Roberts' survival takes an interesting and very brutal front-head turn?
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out! Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick, and part 2 to What If Joe Roberts Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where Channel Mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and every new platform and source to promoting the Omniverse and just everything on the Omniverse in its entirety. And be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, share the Omniverse around, and turn on all Omniversal notifications, commenting future requests and expectations also in the comments below. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time, with Kirby approaching Randy's family's house with everybody there, Sydney requesting it to see how everybody's been doing, and Kirby showing up saying that you guys are going to want to hear this. And Sydney and Gail right away seeing Kirby, for one thing, Gail already knew Kirby was alive, but Sydney? Surprised not only for them, but she's alive and she's near death. And they ask, what happened? And she says, I was attacked. And you guys are going to want to hear what actually happened and who it was. So, she tells a story about how her, Tara, and Sam had just gotten over dealing with Richie's family when they were attacked by another ghost face. And more merciless than any of them put together. And Tara was the first one that was attacked. Sam goes straight after the ghost face and manages to get him on the ground. After that, Sam and Tara just utterly begin to fight off the ghost face, and it seems like they're winning until Tara is stabbed from behind just brutally. And she's put to the ground, but the ghost face doesn't stop. He stabs and stabs and stabs until it's absolutely certain Tara's dead. Sam goes full Billy Loomis and just goes straight in for the kill. But against two of them, she doesn't stand a chance. She's only holding them off, but she can't fully take them on. And then she sees and actually gets a feel for what's going on here. Two ghost faces are attacking, and the other ghost face seems like it's perfectly fine. And it's like deja vu or something. And the two ghost faces begin to utterly dominate the fight until Kirby shows up with a gun in hand. And she tells both the ghost faces to stand down. She doesn't care if they're superhuman or not. She is not losing anybody else, especially after seeing Tara die. And then one of them takes off their mask. Jill takes off her mask and says, "Hi, Kirby. Surprised? I'm just as surprised to see you're still alive. But not for long. At least, we'll see how much longer I intend to keep you alive." And Kirby's like, "Jill?" But before she can even process this, the other ghost face surprises her and stabs her. And just looms over her, ready to kill. But Jill says, "No, we're not going to kill her just yet. Sam, she's done for. And so is her wimpy little sister. But she's not who we're after." And she says to Kirby, "I'm surprised you're even alive. Last time I checked, Charlie killed you. It's a good thing I got rid of a waste of space like him. Sole survivor's all that matters. At least, that was the old me. Now, this is deeply personal. This is between me and Sydney. So, you know what? Especially since you survived our last encounter, I'll give you a choice. Go and tell Sydney that we're coming for her. She won't know when, and she won't know why, and she won't know how. But you tell her that we're coming for her, and that her days of that alternate ending she talked to me about in that hospital before she tased my brain, yeah, her alternate ending is about to become my victory. So unless you want to join Sam and Tara here on the ground, go. Be glad that we're not putting you out of your misery. Forever. Not yet." And we flash back to Kirby saying, while she falls on the ground, and she's coming. I don't know who else she's with, but Jill's alive. And she's coming for you guys. We're all in danger. And Sydney and Gail cannot believe this. They should have double tapped her in that hospital. Sydney should have known that electrocution to the brain, they always come back. And she should have known, personal or family or not, Sam and Tara are dead because of them. So they say no matter who that second ghost face is or not, Jill has made this more personal than ever before. This time, she dies. And Chad and Mindy say that if they're fighting against Jill and this other ghost face, they don't know who they are, but they're doing this not only for Randy and their family line, but for Sam and Tara. The core four is now broken. And they will do whatever they can to help out Sydney and Gale and Kirby and avenge their friends. And Sydney and Gale definitely honor this, but they say they're not going after, because that's exactly what Jill would want them to do. They don't even know where they are to even begin looking. So, what they're going to do is they're going to wait. They're going to wait for the opportunity and see what happens. So whenever Jill and whoever this other ghost face is, they know where they are. Guaranteed. So, they're going to wait it out and see what happens. And whenever the perfect time comes, they'll be ready for her. And this time, Jill's not getting out of this alive. And they say, even though the right thing to do would be trying to hunt her down, that's exactly what her and this other ghost face are doing. Who knows? It could be another one as well. So the best thing to do is just keep us all together. Tend to Kirby and keep everybody in line. If they go after her, wherever she is, they'll just be falling into a trap. And might this be a trap? Yes. But it's the only choice they got. It's the only way. So, 5 nights go by. And no, not 5 Nights at Freddy's. And by the 5th night, everything is silent. Absolutely everything. The outside, the inside, everywhere. And then McKenna Grace's character, sleeping, Sydney's daughter, she is awoken and confronted by a ghost face, letting everybody know, mainly her first, Jill and that other ghost face, whoever else, they've arrived. What is Jill's plan? How is Sydney and them going to combat it? And is there more to Jill's plan than we might think, as Jill Roberts' survival piques an interesting dynamic?
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out! Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and part 3 to What If Jill Roberts Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and everything else the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time, with McKenna Grace's character being one of Sydney's daughters, sleeping, but awoken and confronted by a ghost face. And before she even knows it or can call for help, she's silenced with hand over her mouth, and she's dragged out of her room to somewhere unknown. Isabella May's character is confronted next while she's sleeping. And before she can even fight or anything like that, she's taken away too. Kirby starts to stir, and she gets a gun already up because she knows Jill must be here. And Ghostface gets a knife, and another one confronts her. And Kirby says, "You are not getting away this time. And you're not going to kill me." But then a ghost face comes from behind her. Seemingly 3 of them? 2 gunshots ring out. And Chad and Mindy wake up first, and then Sydney and Gale. All 4 of them rush in with weapons. But they all see no ghost faces, and Sydney realizes her daughters, not her infant, because she keeps the infant with her, but her daughters, they're gone. And she immediately gets on the phone with Mark. Now, I'm not doing the whole Scream 7 whole Joel McHale reversal of what we pretty much insinuated would happen. I'm going the best logical route. This is a fan-made Scream 7, after all, of Sidney being with Mark Kincaid and not this new Mark, which we know zero information about, considering we all thought it was Mark Kincaid. So, we're doing Mark Kincaid. Let's just roll that out right now. She gets on the phone with him, because obviously he's still on duty, and lets him know that the kids have been taken. And once he hears the whole story, it is most potent to know that his help's required now more than ever before. He was on patrol and duty and out at work because they were just getting together. They didn't expect a whole nother Ghostface thing. And yes, Sidney could have called sooner and just everything, but they thought they could confront them. But these ghost faces, especially one of them being Jill, she's playing this smarter and more methodical than ever before. And Mark says he's coming. And they're going to find their kids. And then Mindy says to all of them, come into this room. She found something. Kirby, she stabbed multiple times, but alive? It's hard to realize if Kirby's either freaking superhuman or if the ghost faces left her alive on purpose. Again. And Sidney comes in and is like, what happened? And Kirby says all she knows is that Sidney's kids are gone and there was not 2 ghost faces. There was 3. And she could never have predicted that. She saw 2 right in front of her. And a third just came out of nowhere. It was like deja vu up in this. And both of them agree that now they have to do this the pretty much only way that they have left. With Sidney's kids in danger, they have to find Jill and go after her. And meanwhile, Gail is trying to figure out if Jill is one of the ghost faces, then who is the other 2? And her and Kirby get to talking about this, especially considering the fact that now that there's a third one, that just raises even more suspicion. Who did Jill get? And once Mark gets there and everything, he is trying to put it all together himself. Because who knows? Who else could it be? Because, yeah, Jill survived, but now they gotta be wondering, someone else might have. Like one of their old adversaries. And Mark says, now, definitely, more than ever before, they have to start ruling out the possibility, or put in front of them the possibility, that more than one person besides Jill survived. And if she's got completely new people, they have to start ruling out people they know. Just then, the phone rings. Sidney's phone. And she answers it. And it's Ghostface. And she instantly wants to know, is this Jill? And Ghostface doesn't answer. But all that he says is that, you ever want to find your kids again, finding out who this isn't your primary concern. And Sidney says, you really think you're the first person to threaten my family? I've got a long list of people who would disagree on you about how this ends for you, Jill. And she says, no matter who this is, Jill or not, you got my kids. You'd be wise to tell me where you are, so I can personally hunt you down myself. And she gets a whole monologue from Ghostface saying that gladly you'll get to know where your kids are, as well as me. Doesn't matter who I am, doesn't matter if this is Jill or not. Just know, if you do not come alone, your kids die, and I will hunt down every single person that you have ever loved and kill them the bloodiest way, straight in front of you. And then only then will you die next. And considering how deep into this conversation that Ghostface is going, Sidney knows this is Jill. And Ghostface ends with this: "You should have killed me when you had the chance, cousin." And slams the receiver. And Sidney knows now more than ever before, not only was she just talking to Jill, she gave away her location. And Sidney, Kirby, and Gale all know exactly where this location is. It's at Jill's old house. And Sidney says she has to go alone. Her kids are there and in danger. No matter if this is a trap by Ghostface or not, because she played the Billy Loomis card before, she has to go alone. This is like Roman all over again. And she's going to go the most armed, prepared, and laid out than she's ever done before. She says to everyone, "You guys have to stay here. Protect my youngest and watch out. Because in all likelihood, this could be a trap. But I have to go alone." Gale says that's not an option, and she's going with her. She's played the Ghostface game and almost actually died. Not with Sidney, but with the whole Sam and Tara thing, Scream 6, she almost met her end just like Dewey. And she says to Sidney, after everything that they've been through, Sidney's going to shut her out just like she was that woman she met all the way back when they first met. Fat chance. She is sticking this through with Sidney, her friend. And she's going to see that Jill pays once and for all by killing her alongside Sidney. And she will stick by her to protect her children, avenge Dewey, and put Jill 6 feet in the freaking ground, multiple ghost faces or not. And if Sidney wants to stop her, she'll have to kill her. And she knows that she won't. Sidney says, "All right, but you are the only one that goes. Everyone else must stay here. With 2 of us, we can at least think of a plan. But with multiple of them, more of us would just get in the way, be extra liabilities, cut down, literally and figuratively. So only the 2 of us will go." And Sidney and Gale tell Kirby and then Mark to stay with the baby and Chad and Mindy and just tend to Kirby in general and just make sure everybody stays alive and together. And as much as Mark is trying to fight this, Sidney says, "You can't, Mark. You almost died once. I am not losing anyone else that I love. Our daughters are in danger. I have to do this alone. It's personal to me. It's family. Just like Roman. And you almost died because of him. Imagine what Jill will do to you. I can't have that on my conscience. Not anymore." And Sidney and Gale both plead the case to Mark, Kirby, and just everybody else. They have to stay here. This is their mission now. This is their fight. So, they find themselves at a very rundown, very old, and very much somehow the same version of Jill's house. The place where all the kills from Scream 4 mainly took place and where her own mother died, Jill's, and where Charlie himself, one of the other killers, was murdered by Jill, and where the final battle will take place. Except it's at the fall of night for the ultimate advantage, as Sidney and Gale draw their guns, preparing to face Jill and however many ghost faces are at her side, as we near the closing phases for Jill Roberts' survival.
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out! Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the penultimate part to What If Jill Roberts Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and everything else the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time, with Sidney and Gale, guns drawn, at nighttime at Jill's house, which has not been touched or approached for years. Little do they know, Jill's been at this place ever since she survived a lot longer and more methodically thought out than these two could have ever planned for. Sidney enters one part of the house. Gale enters the other. But so far, they find nothing. But then Gale says for Sidney to come into this room. Sidney comes in, and there is both of Sidney's daughters, with tape around their mouths and securely tied up. And then Sidney turns around, and a ghost face is staring her dead in the eyes. Sidney draws her gun, but the ghost face just stands there, and she tells him, Jill, unmask yourself so we can finish this once and for all. But the unmasking is not who anyone, especially watching this video, would expect. Stu unmasks himself, and Sidney cannot believe it. And Stu revives an old line. Surprise, Sidney. And then Gale sees another ghost face confront her. And this one is actually Jill. So now, Jill and Stu face down Sidney and Gale. And Sidney just cannot believe it. Not only did her cousin survive, Stu? That's impossible! She shoved a TV onto his head. His freaking head exploded with the electricity from the TV. There's no way that he should have been able to survive. Okay, Jill? Maybe. And Jill says, if there's one thing you're too foolish to ever realize, Sidney, it's that you should have followed the rule. Always double tap. And she has been watching her and everybody else for a much longer time than Sidney could ever have anticipated. Lucky enough, she thought this out well enough to have people to back her up in her new plan. And that day, Sidney left her in that hospital bed and made that monologue to her. It's the last thing she remembered before she fully blacked out from that zap to the head. If anything, that zap to the head made her smarter, darker, and much more methodical. And her two friends that she made. She knew that she wasn't going to get anywhere with Charlie. That's why she killed him. But Stu and their other friend, this time, Sidney's alternate ending She's getting her victory this time. And Sydney says, but how? There's no possible way that, for one thing, you two were able to meet so coincidentally and plan this out without any of us knowing about it. And if what you say is true, and Stu really did survive just on his own, and you two met each other, who's the third one? Kirby knows. We know that there's a third one. Now that you've said it face to face, who is it? Who else did you get on your little lapdog list, Jill? And Stu says, really? You couldn't have guessed it already? And he says, you didn't honestly think that we were going to expect you to come alone, did you? That little party trick might have worked against Roman, not against us. And we took the liberty of having our other partner in crime stay at the house with your little hubby Mark and Kirby. So, by the time that you get back, if you ever get back, they'll be dead on the ground. And once our friend here gets the job done, you'll be outnumbered, outgunned, and revenge will be ours. And Mark should be facing down our friend as we speak. And Sydney says, so, seems like you really did think of everything. And you're right. I wasn't going to come alone. The games end here, Jill. Revenge. I should have known that more than one person survived, especially considering the fact of how deep you went on the phone. But bringing my kids into it was the most personal thing you could have done. Not even Roman went that far. And Stu and Jill say, personal? Do you really want to talk personal with what you've done to us? With Stu, you almost killed him. Scarred his face for life, literally and figuratively. Took his friend away, Billy Loomis. Made him go on a over 10 plus year journey to rediscovering himself, waiting for a chance to get revenge. But unlike me, Sydney, it was the perfect time. So, all we had to do was wait. And for both of our survivals, as we've said, you should have double tapped, which is exactly what we did with Sam and Tara. With Stu, scarring his face for life and almost killing him meant that there was almost no conceivable way for him to ever come back to the Stu that he once was or get his revenge. Stu says the road wasn't easy. He went on a long, long path after getting off of that TV. After discovering what he looked like, having a very vague and small memory of what actually happened. It took him years to remember. But Jill was the one thing that punched the reality back into him. So, while everybody else was worried about Sam and Tara's little storyline, the daughter of Billy Loomis, we were staging the perfect site for our revenge. And Jill said, you put the nail in the coffin for this plan, Sydney. The second that you zapped me in that hospital. And a flashback ensues of her doing just that. And she says that day, you didn't just change Stu by dumping a TV on his head. You changed me by zapping mine. You could have killed me that day. You killed Roman. You killed Stu. Well, at least you thought you did. You killed Billy. You killed every single person that stepped in your way. Every person that ever wanted to kill you, except for me. And I'll be the first to admit, my plan probably didn't go the way that I thought it would last time. Thought you would have died right here on this floor. Second I stabbed you, Charlie weakened me. He had to die. So, that's exactly why new plan had to get set into place. And Stu and our other friend, perfect opportunity. So, we decided to wait. And then, Stu takes over from there. Then, all we had to do was make sure that no true threats could get in the way of our plan. Sam and Tara had to die. And as much as it hurt me for seeing my old partner Billy's daughter die, we knew that it was worth it to get the true revenge. Plus, she wasn't a true daughter of Billy Loomis. The killer instinct was there, but she was never going to be what Billy was. And then, Jill says, then we heard something very interesting. Something that actually piqued my interest. Maybe not so much Stu and our partners, but mine. We heard about Dewey. And that definitely piqued my interest. After all, if it wasn't for him, you would never have zapped me. That fool got in the way. So if anything, let's just say he got what he deserved. And Gail just instantly raises her gun and says, I'm going to kill you both and your partner right now. And Sydney says, no, Gail. We need to know something else. If you're really going to make this about revenge, putting my kids into it, staging this over 10, 20-year master plan, then I deserve to know at least one thing. And she says, if Mark and Kirby and them are really in danger, Chad and Mindy, you killed Sam and Tara, then answer me this one request. Who else is with you? Who's the last one? And Jill says, well, we didn't really think that you were going to buy into the identity of our other partner. But since you've already met two people you failed to kill, I might as well mention you failed to kill another. Mickey. And she says, it's honestly quite surprising. You both did a number on him. I'm honestly surprised that we were able to even pluck his body up. He was the hardest one to get on board with this plan. If anything, he's as much of a liability as Charlie was. But he's the ultimate needle mover for our plan. We knew that you both were going to come here. That's why Mickey's there. With the ultimate advantage of surprise. Your little hubby and Kirby and that core 4 or whatever, once we get rid of those two, that little legacy of new protectors is gone. Your little core 4. As for your little baby, we're not going to kill it. I'm not that dark, Sydney. But what we are going to do is we're going to make you suffer. We're going to make sure that not only do Chad and Mindy die, we're going to make sure your hubby dies. And then your baby is going to get a front row of both of your daughter's deaths, Gail's death, and then yours. Oh, but yours? All three of us are going to take turns dismantling, killing, knifing, stabbing, and torturing you until your eyes are so bloodshot with terror, fear, and pain that you hold no life in you left whatsoever. It will make that girl, what's her name? Casey? Stu? Yes, Casey. It's gonna make her death look like a walk in the park. And we all know what happened to her. So once we're done with you, your baby will live just fine. But it will have to grow up without a mom, without siblings, without a daddy. And once it gets old enough, we'll kill him too. Once he realizes he's got no family, no reliable siblings, and a child without a dream, that's when we'll kill him. So as for you right now, it's time to face the facts, Sydney. You should have killed us when you had the chance. And Stu laughs along with this and says, oh boy, this is about to get good. And all four of them raise their weapons as the ultimate fight is about to begin. Meanwhile, Mark has his gun raised on the ghost face he's about to face. Two faces. And he looks to see who this ghost face is. And he can't believe it when it's Mickey Altery. And Mickey says, are you surprised? You should be. Or rather, you shouldn't be. We all knew that you were going to send both Sydney and Gail. And now all of you are left pointlessly outmaneuvered and outmatched. I'm the only one that is required to take care of all of you. But this time, you all don't get a second chance. I'm going to make sure that I do what all of the other previous Ghostfaces refused to do. Put your lights out forever. No more talking, singing, zip. And Chad is the first to die. Actually, Mark, at this point, since this has been proven, he unholsters his gun and just instantly goes to surrender. But then he tries to fight with an open opportunity, but Mickey says, you die next. Can't wait till Sydney sees her man on the ground with nothing but the baby left to see her die. And right when he goes for the kill, it seems like it's all over. Kirby is on the ground, pretty much dead. Mindy is defenseless. And the infant is just left there, just not even knowing what to do because it's a freaking infant. But just then, something happens that no person at all would have expected. Mickey is shot down over 15 times in the head, stomach, legs, arms, heart, everywhere by an unknown assailant. And once this person comes into the light, Mark, Kirby, and Mindy cannot believe their eyes. It's Dewey? And he says, let's go save them both. And with that, we get into the closing chapter next time for Jill Roberts' survival.
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out! Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the finale to What If Jill Roberts Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and everything else the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time. Dewey is alive and saved Mark, a pretty much on the ground Mindy defending Sydney's infants, and an almost completely dead Kirby. Mark cannot believe he thought Dewey was dead. He was stabbed ruthlessly and just maliciously, and by Amber. There's no way that he should have been able to survive. And tells Dewey, especially Gale, is going to be the most touched by this and thrown aback because she's the one who was hit hardest of it most of all, for obvious reasons. And Dewey says he knows, and he's got a lot of explaining to do. But saving Sydney and Gale and Mark and Sydney's kids comes first. So they're going to go do that right now. So they all head after. Meanwhile, the gun battle between Sydney, Gale, Jill, and Stu has reached a breaking point. Jill rushes at Gale and the two get into a fight, with Jill just ruthlessly trying to kill her. Stu gets Sydney on the ground and says, "Doesn't this bring back memories, Sid?" And then he just ruthlessly punches her over and over again in the face. So this time she can't even get away and reverse out of this hold because Stu has an answer for it. And Stu says, "You didn't think I was really gonna let you get me the same way now, did you? This time, you die." And Sydney says, "Seems like you thought this out pretty well there, Stu, except for one thing." And Stu just smugly smirks and is like, "What's that?" "I'm Sydney effing Prescott." And then she kicks him in the unmentionables, dropping Stu down to the ground. And Sydney gets her gun and says, "Join Billy in hell, Stu." And shoots 4 times. And then kicks a TV. And this time with a different TV and gunshots already in him, it electrocutes him just like before with multiple gunshots in him. And then, just to make absolutely certain that Stu's dead once and for all, she shoots the TV multiple times. And it just bursts in fire and electricity, pretty much burning and just completely dismembering Stu's body, mainly his head. Jill, seeing this, knows she's alone, and Gale catches her off guard with her gun and says, "You're gonna pay for everything you've done." But Sydney says for Gale to stop, and Gale's like, "What? Stop?" And she doesn't listen, and she's just prepared to go for the kill. But Sydney looks at Jill and says, "Jill, are you sorry?" And Jill she can't believe what she is hearing. And she just smirks. "Sorry? Why on earth would I be sorry? You killed my partner. Likely my other one's dead too. But me, this is my revenge. And I'm still gonna get it. You think I'm sorry? The only one that should be sorry here, Sydney, is you. Sorry for leaving me alive. Sorry for making me live this shallow existence. And most of all, sorry for the fact that your child will have to grow up without you or anyone else you love. If I'm going down, you can bet I'm getting the fame and wish that I desire." And Sydney says, "What is it worth anymore, Jill? You have no one. And you don't have your mom. You don't have Charlie. You don't have Stu, Mickey. You don't have anything." And she says, "Has it really become worth it for this whole crusade to be famous and have fans? You were famous. for roughly a few hours before we put you in your place for thinking you could kill us. And what did you do in return? After surviving, you're right, I should have killed you properly. But your family? And I knew that this wasn't you. You were a misunderstood kid, and you're reaffirming that now, Jill. Has it become worth it? Or do you finally understand? You should have just talked to me. You should have just let your feelings become more present in a way that didn't make you a mass murderer. Because look at what's become of you. Is it worth it? And Jill says, are you seriously asking me that question? Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Why do you think that I crawled out of that hospital room and planned for all these years to get my revenge just to stop here? No. Do you have any idea what it's like? I told you this once before, related to you, hearing about you, seeing how you're so special. And what was I? Just a kid who's supposed to have a normal life while someone in my family has these things happen to her and she's the freaking press girl of the world? No. My time deserved to be then, and it sure as hell deserves to be now. And Sydney says, no. Your time was never just because you want it. And it's never been about me. It's about my mom. That's what got us to this point. It's about my mom leading into me. But do you really think that I wanted to have experiences like this? And just because I went through everything I went through, I never wanted the fame or fortune. I never wanted to kill anybody, not even you. And that's why I didn't put more effort into killing you. For Mickey, I can't make an excuse for him. For Stu, I can't make an excuse for him. But for you, there was an excuse. Especially considering I did kill Roman, my brother. It's because you were a kid. But what did you do with the chance to live? You took life from someone else. You took life from someone who wanted to make Billy Loomis's life and legacy turn into something better. Use that violence for good. You killed Sam. You killed Tara. You killed so many other people, Charlie or not. And now look at you. You're all alone. A girl without friends. A girl without fans. And a child without a purpose. Isn't that what you wanted to make my child? It didn't have to be like this, Jill. It never did. You made it like this. You took what I had going on in my life and turned it into some dark conspiracy that you were left out in a world that you were just a party to. You are my family, and you took my troubles, my pain, and the people pressing it on to me as fame and everything to destroy not only everybody else's lives, but almost cost you yours. Twice. This being the second time. So now do you understand? You never had to become a killer to get this kind of dream that you wanted. You just had to mention it to someone like me who would have grown to actually teach you the proper way to handle it. And instead, you turned into a monster. You turned into someone who killed not only your mother, but people who actually cared about you. Friends, boyfriends, even ones that betrayed you. You turned on all of them. You turned on Gail. You turned on me. And then you even had the gall to kidnap and threaten my children, my infant. You are not the same Jill Roberts that I met all the way back then. What you are is the ghost and demon of Jill Roberts. That makes me think. Do you remember what you said to me in this very spot before you put a knife in me and tried to go about your whole plan? You told me, I don't need friends. I need fans. And look at what's happened. You don't have friends. You don't have fans. And worst of all, you don't have family. But there's still a way out of this, Jill. I consider you family still. The world has moved on. I'm no longer worried about ghost faces because it's part of my life. That's why I'm giving you a chance right now. Do the right thing. See, what you have done for all these years has just corrupted you. That it's wrong. You've become wrong. And throughout all my life, all the experiences I went through, all the personal stuff, all the people I lost, all the close people I lost, ever since my own mother died because of Billy Loomis and Stu, I never changed. I have only ever done what it's taken to defend the people left that I love and to keep going to prove to myself that I'm strong. But you, the only thing that's kept you going is what every single killer has ever wanted: revenge. And it's never worth it, Jill. Just ask anybody. Ask Stu, Mickey, Billy, Richie, Amber, Charlie, Roman, Mrs. Loomis. All of them wanted revenge against me or my family for something, thinking that I did something wrong. Maybe sometimes it was my fault. Maybe this is all circled to me in this very moment because of me. But I know it's not the root cause, and it doesn't matter what the root cause is. And Jill, you've just gotta let go of that stuff from the past because it just doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you choose to be now. Who you choose to be now. What you've chosen for all of these years is to be someone who wants to be loved, to be known, to be famous. Your dream is cast away for the second time, and it's not my fault. It's not anybody else's fault but yours. You have to understand that and know that this dream, this facade you've been chasing for so long, it's not worth it. The only thing that's worth it is who you choose to be now. And the only way that you can rightfully save what is left of having family who loves you and is willing to help you is if you stop what you're doing, see what you have done all this time is wrong, and redeem yourself the way I never gave any other Ghostface an opportunity to. Because you're family. Roman, I could have tried it with him, but it just didn't work. But with you, it will work, and I really think that it can. But the only way it works is if you let me help you. And Jill is processing all of this information, and then she just breaks down crying. And This is definitely a new side of Jill that no one has ever seen before. And Gale even lowers her gun because not even she would have expected this from Jill. But throughout all of that, Sydney and Gale both realize that she is just a kid. So, Jill hands over her knife and gun, and she, through tears, sorrow, and regret, says that I'm sorry. And her and Sydney embrace in a hug. Gale still is thinking something's up here and wants to shoot because of what she said about Dewey and just in general, but Sydney says there's no longer a need for that. She looks at Gale for a second, and she says, I didn't used to like you at first, Gale, but I forgave you. We trust each other. You came here with me because you said that our friendship has evolved into something that no part of our first encounter would have ever expected to travail through. So Jill deserves a second chance. And she looks to Jill and says, you understand, don't you? And Jill says, yeah, I understand. And then Sydney and Gale get a phone call from Mark and saying that we're here. And Gale looks in utter complete horror and surprise and sadness. And she and Sydney see that Mark, Mindy, and the infant are here, and Kirby is being tended to, but Dewey is alive. And Gale cannot believe it. And Dewey says, it's not the first time I survived a near-death encounter, Gale. Surprised that it wasn't my last. And I'm glad to see that you're okay still. I heard that you almost bit the dust too. I guess we both have joined that list full time, haven't we? And Gale is just so full of tears and joy right now. They're about to go in to embrace, but then something happens that shifts the entire mood around forever. Gale is stabbed straight in the neck, straight through the neck. And she says, Dewey, I love you, before she dies. Jill has the knife and gun back. And she says, I told you I'm getting my dream, even if I have to kill all of you to do it. But Sydney and Dewey just unrelentlessly shoot down Jill in her head, face, arms, heart, chest, legs, every single part of her body, until not only is all their ammunition gone, but anything that looked like Jill is completely and utterly, irrevocably erased. So Jill is dead for real this time. So after this, Dewey, having come back, seeing his wife, and now her dying like this, now it's like an Uno reverse card. And now they have to process the deaths of Gale, Chad, Sam, Tara, hopefully not Kirby, and go on with the rest of their lives. Sydney and Mark are glad to have their kids still alive, and they try to go back to their normal lives. It's far different now without Gale and without Sam, Tara, and a lot of others. But with Dewey back, it's at least eased around the same, if not a new, kind of pain and moving forward type of deal. Sydney, she's sad to realize there could have been a future with her, Roman, and Jill. Sad to say, Jill made it so that will never happen, as did Roman. She's glad that she tried in the end. As for Dewey, a new kind of look embraces him. He came back after going on this life-changing journey, meeting Gale, surviving backstab after backstab after backstab, to learn about Jill, Stu, and Mickey surviving, and to see his own wife die before his eyes. Just like Gale thought that he died right before her eyes multiple times, especially against Amber and Richie, thinking that that was the last time he would ever see the light of day. Now that light has become an illuminating darkness, as Gale's death has tone shifted the entire mood and complexity of Dewey Riley's character. And now, a new darkness erupts his heart. And that darkness is going to shape itself very, very soon. So we've come to the end. Now I know. Scream 7 isn't out yet. So a lot of this, pretty much all of this, was fan-made. But to be fair, I did give out a good warning. And I guarantee you that in regards to Scream 7, which is going to be a masterpiece to Sidney Prescott's story, at least from what we know, there's Stu Macher, there's a Roman cameo expected, there's Dewey coming back, and so much is being put into this being a Sidney story, even if there's no Mark Kincaid or anything like that. But I bet there's a few of you that are like, why did Gale have to die? How is Dewey alive, even though he's reported to come back for Scream 7? And what does the ending mean? Well, I'll answer all those questions for you. It's usually what these endings are about, you know? So, overall, my goal for this wasn't to, make it too apart from Scream 7's overall idea. Because from what we know, both the daughters are confirmed, so I put them in. Story about Sidney, put her in. But that's not the name of this video. This wasn't me making my own fan-made Scream 7, and that was just it, This was all about Jill. And the best way to include her, because I've already done it in 5 and 6, so the best way to include her was integrating her into Scream 7. But since it's not out yet, I had to improvise so you guys didn't have to wait. So, overall, the story was not just about Jill, it was also making a Scream 7. So pretty much, it was about combining the two. Now, you guys are probably wondering also, yes, Stu is confirmed, but why throw Mickey in there? Don't you have a video about him and, already did a video about Stu? So, couldn't you have just done Jill and figured out a way for her to do it by herself? And just made the kids more of an influence in the story? Since you only had them for, one scene? Well, I could have done that, but I wanted to show a dynamic in character for Jill that made her rely on others more. Even at the end, she started to revert, because that's the kid in her that was still showing. But to show desperativity, in a way, and show a different level of a dynamic in Jill Roberts, I decided to go about it a different route. So, bringing Stu back and putting him into the integrated Scream 7, which is already confirmed, was a great step in that. And since I have never really done anything major with Mickey yet on this channel, besides making, Scream 2's plot happen later, which really doesn't matter, I decided to heck with it, and I'm going to go ahead and have Mickey survive. Now, I did have him survive once with Roman, but that didn't really result in much, and wasn't as huge a plot. Now you guys are probably like, "Whoa, this story didn't really have a huge plot with Mickey either, so it's like the same thing." Yeah, you're kind of right. But overall, it was either I do Jill and Stu and just make it a lame twist, or I double down on it. Because that brings us to the next plot point. Dewey. Because if you guys remember, Dewey's confirmed, and it was revealed to be a surprise, and not supposed to be revealed. So that goes to show one of two things. Like Roman, Stu, and Dewey. With Roman, Stu, and Dewey all integrated into Scream 7, they're all for resurrections? Stu most definitely. Or flashbacks. So, with that kept in mind, and the fact that Stu's basically a confirmation, and Roman's basically a flashback, Dewey was also revealed as a surprise, so had creative leeway to resurrect him. I mean, why not? And overall, the excuse that he has dealt with enough backstabbings, literally, and a way to actually write in his comeback was perfect enough to set up Mickey as the third Ghostface and him coming to save the day. And then it brings us to the last thing. The possibility of Jill Roberts turning good. Now, I could have made that happen. But I feel like since I have other future stories planned for Jill, that is something we need to touch upon in the future. These survival stories are supposed to be different from characters turning good. Now, I bet you guys are probably thinking, well, you made the Cell Jr. turn good, and Deborah turn good, and the Cell Jr. survive. Why is that? Because just because a title says something does not mean that the direct outcome is as a result of the title. It just means people get the basic gist of what is going to happen. That is how you write a freaking genius masterpiece of a material, especially with what ifs. So, while yes, 9 times out of 10, you don't want to make your people in the stories turn good in a survival story, even if that character's directed in that way, if you make him survive, it doesn't mean that it still can't happen. But with Jill, her character was so complex and so deranged and so childish that leading her on this dark route from 4 to 7, it just didn't make sense for the way that the story was directed for me to turn her good. It just made more sense for her to turn traitor and kill at the first opportunity. And who better to kill off than the one that a lot of people are thinking that's gonna die in Scream 7, and that was eerily close in 6, Gale Weathers. Now, you guys are probably also like, well, Dewey and Gale reunited, and, Dewey died. You pretty much just reversed that in this what if. Yeah, I kinda did, but it was honestly the best way to write in Dewey's resurrection and Jill's betrayal. Sometimes if the story calls for a 6 setup, I just abide by the rules. But overall, before I close, there is one thing left we need to discuss about this tale. Something right at the end. A long time ago, I made a What If Ed Survived? And I asked you guys, do you want a remake of the story? Or do you want a part 2? Or do you want it left alone? A lot of you were mixed about it, but there is a remake coming. Not a part 2, but a remake. So, it's actually going to touch upon a part 2 and a full revitalization of the subject. So, I will ask you guys a similar question for this one. Do you want me to make a fan-made What If Scream 8 about Dewey becoming Ghostface and do that project? Or do you think he would either, unfortunately, die alone or commit suicide, or just leave the story as it is? Whichever one of those 3 decisions is up to you. And if enough of you vote in the comments section that you want a fan-made Scream 8 with Dewey as Ghostface, definitely sub, hit the like button, smash that freaking like button, and comment down below and anywhere else on the Omniverse, because it's definitely something that I am willing to do. And if enough people comment it, you could consider it a what if for the future, because there's definitely room for a Scream 8. Even though Scream 7 isn't even out in theaters yet, I'm already thinking of making a Scream 8, which I've never done with a subject like this before, which proves how influential Scream is, and that 7 is revitalizing Scream more than ever before. So it's up to you guys. Do you think that I should make a Scream 8 with Dewey? Make it so that Dewey unfortunately dies by his own methods? Or do I leave it alone? So it's basically like the Ed Surviving, which is getting a remake. More or less on my choice, but this time I'm giving you guys the choice. This might be my Omniverse, but you're a party to it. So whatever you guys feel, and if you truly like the story, and if you want to see a future tale continuing this kind of plot, subscribe to the Omniverse, smash that like button, and comment down below. Because just like this story, we're still expanding the ongoing Omniverse of Nick.
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out!